And now to this big breaking news here in Minnesota today. Vice President Kamala Harris just selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate.
Governor Walz is a military veteran and a union supporter who helped pass an ambitious Democratic agenda right here in Minnesota. So we've got live team coverage today. Kelsey Christensen and Bailey Hurley, both live outside the governor's temporary residence in St. Paul. And Bailey, we're going to start with you. You've been out there since early this morning.
I have, Paul, and I got to tell you, it's probably the quietest it's been out here outside of the governor's temporary residence here in St. Paul since about 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning. About 5 o'clock, that's when all the craziness started. We saw car after car heading into the residence here, and it seemed like it never ended. Then take a look at this video. You can see just how many people were out here this morning. They were here as Governor Walz got into all of those vehicles and then made his way out of the residence. All of those people cheering him on and wishing him well as he goes to his new role as Harris's vice presidential nominee. Now, a big question is, what does this mean for Minnesota? Political experts, they're wondering the same, honestly, saying that the ball is in Walz's court if he's going to step down from his duties as governor until this election is over. Listen.
It's up to Governor Walz whether he temporarily leaves the state as a candidate and allows the lieutenant governor to operate as the acting governor. And we'll have to see if he's willing to do that or whether he's going to try and be governor and a candidate for vice president at the same time.
Now, Stephen Scheer, he says the next 3 months, it also means all of the good, the bad, and the ugly of Minnesota politics and Governor Tim Walz's decisions. Well, they're going to be aired out, and they're going to be majorly scrutinized nationally, including how he responded to COVID, as well as how he responded to the murder of George Floyd and the riots that followed. And while many thought that Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, he was the for sure pick for this VP nomination here, Stephen Scheer says Shapiro's pro-Israel stance, that was divisive in the Democratic Party. He also says that so were Shapiro's controversial stances on private school choice. Scheer pointing to the positives for the Harris campaign when it came to picking Walz. Listen.
Tim Walz, I think, was chosen for a number of reasons. First of all, he's been a solid progressive in government, as has Kamala Harris. So I think that they're ideologically very compatible. Second of all, he has presented himself well over the last few weeks, and I think that impressed her as well.
So whether you agree or not, it is a big day here in Minnesota for politics. And now we know that Walz is going to be heading to Philadelphia tonight. That's where he will join Harris for a campaign event. Tomorrow, they are going to be in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, both of them for another campaign event. We know that the Trump campaign is sending their VP candidate, J.D. Vance, tonight to Philadelphia, as well as to Eau Claire tomorrow. And the Trump campaign, they have wasted no time attacking this decision by the Harris campaign. They say that Walz is the worst pick that she could have made for her VP. They say that they really point to his decisions that he made during the George Floyd era and his lack of response when it came to all of the riots. They also point to his stance on immigration, and they say that Walz is much more left-leaning than he leads on. Again, a lot to watch here with just less than 3 months until the November election, Lee and Paul.
Yeah, so many things happening quickly. You know, the reaction to this breaking news coming in quickly, including from President Biden.
Yeah, the White House says that he did speak with the vice president before she made her announcement. And then he called Governor Walz to congratulate him. Biden just tweeted saying in part, quote, as governor, he has been a strong, principled and effective leader. The Harris-Walz ticket will be a powerful voice for working people and America's great middle class. They will be the strongest defenders of our personal freedoms and our democracy, and they will ensure that America continues to lead the world and play its role as the indispensable nation. Now, former President Donald Trump also released a statement in a campaign email this morning, writing in all caps, quote, Tim Walz would be the worst VP in history. State Republicans are also sounding off on this choice.
House Minority Leader Lisa DeMuth released a statement, in part writing, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are the most extreme ticket in recent presidential history that want to decriminalize immigration, end private health insurance, reduce sentences for violent criminals, and make your energy bills more expensive.
And we just saw Bailey Hurley reporting outside of the governor's residence, and she said it was quiet now, but earlier this morning there were a lot of crowds gathered there outside.
So many people. Kelsey Christensen continues our team coverage in St. Paul with new reaction to this decision. Kelsey.
Yeah, it was quite a sight to see this morning, as Bailey said, kind of dissipated once Governor Walz left the residence here, but we're just seeing so many reactions pour into this announcement. Minnesota now really in the national spotlight, at least for the next few months until the November election. But we really haven't seen this since we had a VP pick decades ago hailing from Minnesota. So take a look at these videos here earlier this morning, just that massive crowd. It grew and grew as the hours went on, and then cheers rang out when that announcement came in. We've been talking with so many people here about what they think about Minnesota, again, being in that national spotlight. We also talked with some of his neighbors, and here's what they had to say.
All the, X trends about him, being everyone's dad, which I love, because he really is. When they moved into the neighborhood, they've had a couple parties for neighbors where they've invited everyone over, and the man you see in interviews and whatnot, that's really him.
His dog Scout plays with my dog Butter over here, so very good neighbors.
As we know, Governor Walz served in the military. He was also a teacher for many years. In reaction here, State Senator Aaron Quaid posting online, quote, a preemptive "you're welcome" to the rest of America. Love Minnesota. While Representative Tom Emmer posting, quote, Walz is an empty suit who has worked to turn Minnesota into Harris's home state of California. These are just a few of so many reactions here. Now, historically speaking, there have only been two VPs hailing from Minnesota, and the only two that ran as well, Hubert Humphrey back in 1965 and Walter Mondale taking office back in 1977. So you can see this really is a historic moment for Minnesota. Again, whether you agree or not, but just having this VP pick, Walz now making that third pick in the line of Minnesotans. Leah, Paul.
Okay, Kelsey Christensen, thank you. Now, Governor Walz being chosen as Harris's VP pick could mean some potential political changes for Minnesota.
It could. Now, Walz is not required to leave office while campaigning, so that means he would more than likely remain governor until after the election results are known. If Harris and Walz win in November, state law then dictates that the lieutenant governor, Peggy Flanagan, she would be elevated to governor. And that would make her the state's first female governor and first Native American woman to serve as governor in the country. Then State Senate President Bobby Joe Champion would rise to lieutenant governor, and that would make him the state's first black lieutenant governor. Now, Governor Walz is the first Minnesotan on a major presidential ticket in 40 years. It's happened before, but it's been a little while. So we do want to bring in more political analysis now. And we have a politics professor with us at the University of Wisconsin-River Falls, Neil Krause. We're so glad you came in to join us this morning.
Thank you.
Everyone in Minnesota, it seems around the country, is talking about this big move today. So let's start with this. Why Tim Walz? Why did Kamala Harris want to have Tim Walz? How does she think he can help the ticket?
I think that Walz really brings a lot of appeal to, these states that are all the focus, right? Like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. And, Walz is a very popular governor. He's very likable. He's also very forceful. He's very aggressive. We've seen that. I think he's been labeled like a happy warrior, which I think is accurate. It sort of captures how he does politics, right? He takes positions that are very much consistent with the Democratic Party, and yet he's very, he can throw a punch, right? And yet, at the end of the day, I think most people, and he's quite popular in Minnesota, right? I think he's a reasonably popular governor.
Yeah, and when you see this, what do you think a decision like this means to Minnesota voters when you hear about this?
Well, I think that Minnesota will kind of get a lot more attention, right, than it would have otherwise gotten. I think that I think this definitely gives Harris a boost in the state, although, she was expected to win, or at least ahead at this point anyway. So I think it definitely gives Democrats in the state overall a boost. And I think it brings attention to the state, to all of the state, right? Which is a positive.
And to the
positive
Midwest
thing.
as a whole, right?
Exactly,
They'll be
yeah.
campaigning tomorrow in Wisconsin.
Right.
Wisconsin's seen a bit more as a swing state than Minnesota is right now. Do you think that having Walz on the ticket makes a difference for Harris in Wisconsin or other Midwest states?
I think it can definitely help her, yeah. And I think that's what he brings more so than I think Josh Shapiro, particularly in Michigan and Wisconsin, and really throughout the Midwest. I mean, Shapiro was probably going to do well in Pennsylvania. It was a question of whether or not he was going to help her in a state like Wisconsin or Michigan, and I think that Walz is a little bit better at that.
Maybe the right choice for that. Well, you know, the Trump campaign, they're already swinging on this thing. They've come
Sure.
out and they've already made some things. What do you expect out of that?
Well, I think that they're going to try to kind of caricature Walz, and I think we're already seeing that in some of the extreme statements coming out of their camp, and to try to define him as something he is not. His positions are all. I mean, his major positions are reasonably popular. He's been elected, you know, by pretty decent numbers in Minnesota, and I think his popularity is pretty solid. And you know, Minnesota is not a state like California, or it's not a state like my home state of New York, which is you know, more solidly Democratic, and yet he's been able to you know, to do reasonably well here. So.
Right, but as we said, I think that idea of defining him.
Yeah.
We know Governor Walz here in Minnesota. I think
Sure.
as far as across the nation, people in California maybe say, Tim Walz, who's that? Where'd this
Right.
guy come from?
Yeah.
So there's going to be a race to quickly define who Tim Walz is on a national stage, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think the governor has a real advantage. He's very comfortable in his own skin. I mean, I can remember John Kerry years ago, or Michael Dukakis even further back, struggling. You know, wait, I better go hunting now. You know,
Right.
and all this kind of stuff,
Right,
right?
right.
I better be seen with a fishing rod, and well, that's, you know, part of what Walz is. So I think he's more than comfortable in defining himself. So they're going to try all this stuff, but we'll see. I think it's going to be tough to do.
Okay, big days ahead.
Yeah.
No
for sure.
clouds. Thank you.
Professor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the perspective here.
Thank you.
There is so much to track, of course, with all of this going on. And now Governor Walz and VP Harris are set to start a nearly week-long stretch of campaigning. They'll be in several battleground states.
Yeah, they're going to be in Pennsylvania tonight. They'll be back here in the Midwest. Eau Claire is tomorrow in Wisconsin. And you can count on Eyewitness News. We're going to have complete coverage all the way through the campaign cycle. We've got much more coverage throughout the day here on the air. You can get the latest anytime at KSTP.com and the KSTP app.